If there is one thing that definitely interfered with the development of F1 cars in 2022, that is the budget cap. From this season, it has been around $140 million, but due to the Ukrainian-Russian war, the inflation has increased by over 3% and teams have been granted additional $4 million to cope with the costs. Nevertheless, most of the teams struggled with the porpoising phenomenon, and with the weight of their cars, which is now 798 kilograms of minimum weight, one team that hasn't struggled a bit with the phenomenon of porpoising but has struggled a lot with the weight of its car is Red Bull. Therefore, they're bringing a crucial update for their floor due to the issue of the cost cap. Want to find out more? Stick around with us until the end of this video. Red Bull has been nothing short of spectacular in 2022, as they are far away from the competition in both championships. However, things haven't been smooth sailing in the first couple of races, where they struggled a lot with the reliability of their engine. That's why Leclerc was able to run away to 46 points advantage over Verstappen in the first 3 races, with Verstappen failing to finish 2 of them. However, bad luck and bad strategies have stricken Ferrari, and that is why Red Bull has been able to capitalize on most of Ferrari's blunders. With Mercedes struggling to get grips with their 2022 car or the W13, it seems like Red Bull has just found a way to stay consistent through the year and deliver top-notch results, which is why Verstappen is currently leading the championship with 109 points ahead of Leclerc, and Red Bull is dominating the Constructors' Championship by a large margin. However, nothing of this is coming cheap to the team, and it seems like they are nearing the budget cap with all of their upgrades. Red Bull is a team that constantly brought upgrades to every race so far. That's why they've been able to battle the porpoising phenomenon without a problem, and when you look at the design of their underfloor, you'll understand why the cars are so powerful and why they aren't struggling a bit with the bouncing phenomenon. The RB18 has a complex design similar to a labyrinth, whereas its main competitors, Mercedes and Ferrari, have gone with a simple design of its underfloors, and that is the main reason why they have struggled. From 2022 and beyond, the ground effect has been brought back to F1 as the main way for the car to generate downforce. This way, the car will be using its floor to stick lower to the ground, but in order to do so, it needs to not be very close, because the phenomenon of porpoising or bottoming out will happen if that happens. That's a problem that many of the teams have struggled with due to their air pressure stalling below the floor. As we mentioned earlier in this video, Red Bull have managed to design a floor that has worked perfectly well for both of its cars. That's why even Perez was much more competitive and was able to complete multiple 1-2 finishes for Red Bull, such as the one in Barcelona, Baku and Imola. But since Austria, Perez has been switched to a newer version, and that just doesn't seem to be getting the results that the team wants. That is why Perez was much less quick in the second phase of the first half of the season, and that is why he lost a step in the championship fight with Verstappen and Leclerc, although he is currently tied for P2 in the Drivers' Championship. However, Perez has opted out to stay with that same floor for the Zandvoort CP, and it seems like he will do so for a few more races, even though it appears not to be the optimum version, and he has been battling out to get on terms with not just his teammate but the whole pack ahead. Red Bull's boss Christian Horner revealed that the floor decision was kind of forced on them due to financial grounds, as the squad is most likely unwilling to build another old-spec floor at this stage of the season amid the restrictions of the cost cap. Most of the big F1 squads are struggling to stay below the cost cap limits, forcing them to be cautious about introducing new parts if they will not deliver good value for money. Horner has equally played down suggestions that the floor is the reason why Perez has been so far behind Verstappen in pace terms in recent outings, although many have speculated that the team has intentionally built the car towards Verstappen in order to favor him for the championship fight. You're talking minuscule differences. It's predominantly been driven by the availability of spare parts. I think the difference is probably less than a tenth, or approximately maybe a tenth of a second, but Checo had a tricky race at Zandvoort and unfortunately getting jumped at the restart, and I think probably with hindsight his tyre preference was the medium. I think with 2020 vision, the soft at the end would have been probably a better tyre to attack. There's still decent points for him, finished Horner. It has been known that Perez struggled with Red Bull's upgrades when they started to introduce ones to the floor and to the aerodynamical flow of the car. That is something that Perez has spoken about publicly, and it's something that means two things. Either Perez isn't as good as we thought when it came to adapting the car, or Verstappen is just too good at adapting to whatever the team is throwing away at him. I think in the beginning I was more comfortable. I could feel like every time I came to a weekend in FP1, I was already easily happy with the balance and things were coming natural. As the season progressed, it feels like it has become harder and harder. Every weekend I have to really go deep into the analysis, and yeah, I'm not as comfortable as I was with the car before, said Perez. The Mexican also spoke about the car's preferences, kind of urging Horner and the team to make the car run as closely to him as possible. That way, the team will be able to have a 1-2 finish in the Drivers' Championship for the first time since 2011 and finally bring back the dominance from their glory days that ended in 2013. Well, it's just going away from me in terms of how comfortable I was in the beginning. But saying that, I've had only 2 races of this, and last weekend I wasn't up to it. I was feeling pretty bad, so I think this is the first weekend where I will see really. But hopefully reliability issues are gone now and we're able to finish races. That's the most important thing, urged Perez earlier this season when he was so close to Verstappen in the championship fight. Apart from that, Red Bull seems to plan yet another upgrade to their car, which is for their chassis. The team has been really proactive with its upgrades, and that is why some of the team principals have wondered as to how Red Bull has managed to invent a new chassis within the budget cap. Mattia Binotto has been the loudest on this matter, saying, "I myself have no idea what they're doing, whether they have a larger chassis or not. But the budget cap is always a concern. In addition to technical and sporting regulations, we also have to deal with financial regulations, and that can also cause differences between the teams purely by how those regulations are interpreted. We need a strong FIA who is on top of this, because otherwise those rules are not fair and equal for everyone. But as I said, I can't judge Red Bull's lighter chassis and whether they have it or not, but I do know that Ferrari couldn't do that because of the budget cap," said Binotto, who continued to speak about other teams' possibility to do what Red Bull has done, adding, "I will be very surprised if another team turns out to be able to do that. And if it is, then we come back to the regulations. Are they fair enough? Do they see equal enough for everyone? And is it adequately monitored? These are big question marks. The rules are still very new and are only checked by a small number of people, so that has to be improved with a view to the future. It would be a bad thing if the championship is determined by financial regulations and not through the technological battle," finished Binotto. However, Red Bull has divided 2 million out of the 4 million that was given to them due to the rising inflation above 3%, which is something they've been able to utilize perfectly as it seems. The chassis is set to debut in Singapore, but what exactly does it hold in itself, and how does the team plan to reduce the weight of its car by additional 5 kgs thanks to the chassis itself? Red Bull has struggled with the weight of the car, as they have been the heaviest car in the grid with 8 kg more than the minimum weight of 792 kg. However, during the Belgian GP, reports said that the Red Bull car weighed around 4 kg less than the previous GP, meaning that the car somehow managed to shed some weight. The upgrades that revolve around the new monocoque or the chassis of the car were labelled to be 4 to 5 kg lighter than the original one of Verstappen and Perez. Reports said that both Red Bull cars were mounted with new chassis, which allowed them to be much faster compared to other drivers on the grid. This and Verstappen's new engine have allowed him to propel to an easy win regardless of his starting position on Sunday. But why is this monocoque so important for the car's performance? For starters, it makes the car lighter, something that every team has struggled with the new regulations. But Red Bull seems to have absolutely nailed all of the other aspects of the 2022 regulations, so the car weight hasn't been that much interfering with their performance. This is why, with a less heavy car, the RB18 has been even more dominant, and here's how the genius team of engineers, led by Adrian Newey, has managed to invent the chassis. The result was achieved by applying a different construction to the chassis, but not to the design. The design has remained the same, and it was the cross-ply of the different layers of carbon fiber that took some changes. By placing the fibers in a different orientation, the same stiffness and strength values as the previous version were obtained. However, the thickness of the chassis were reduced in many places, and as a result it comes with a significantly lesser weight. At its core, the chassis is built with finite elements, ones that is very thoroughly and extensively analyzed and used by Red Bull, with software that virtually evaluates the stresses by dividing the body into several sections. This makes it possible to simulate the resistance of the structure and its stiffness as the structure varies, with the main focus being on the orientation of the fibers of the different carbon layers. What do you think about Red Bull's upgrades? Let us know in the comments below.